blind. The United States Air Force just went over the Persian Gulf. The words of President Volodymyr Zelensky, delivered in his recent address, have sent a seismic shock through the halls of the Pentagon, confirming a suspicion that many feared but few dared to voice. Zelensky has made it clear. The partnership between Moscow and Tehran is no longer a one-way street of convenience. He stated, with what he called 100% facts, that Russia has begun supplying Iran with advanced drone technology. Specifically, Russian-modified versions of the very systems that have been terrorizing Ukrainian cities for years. Zelensky noted that in the wreckage of drones recently used to strike American bases in the Middle East, investigators found Russian details. This is the smoking gun. It is the moment we realize that the drone debt incurred by Vladimir Putin when he begged for Iranian Shaheds in 2022 has been paid in full, and the interest is being collected in American blood. Zelensky's revelation forces us to look at the battlefield of the Middle East through a terrifying new lens. When he speaks of Russian details, he isn't just talking about hardware. He is talking about a transfer of lethal experience. For 3 years, Russia used Ukraine as a live-fire laboratory, learning exactly how Western air defenses like the Patriot and the Iris-T react to swarms of low-cost drones. They learned how to spoof GPS, how to bypass electronic jamming, and how to time strikes to overwhelm a target's brain. Now that entire encyclopedia of anti-Western warfare has been handed over to the Iranian regime. Zelensky warned that this is a trilateral reality. If the West helps Ukraine with intelligence, Russia will help Iran with the same. We are seeing a symmetric retaliation, where every satellite coordinate Washington gives to Kyiv is matched by a coordinate Moscow gives to Tehran. This brings us to the most devastating consequence of this exchange: the blinding of the United States Air Force over the Persian Gulf. In a single 18-hour window, Iran managed to destroy 4 E-3 Sentry aircraft across 2 countries. As Zelensky's intelligence suggests, this was not a lucky strike. It was a surgical removal of the eyes of the American military. The E-3 Sentry is not just a plane, it is the command and control center for the entire air war. Without it, the world-class stealth of the F-35 and the raw power of the F-15 are rendered deaf and dumb. They are blind, as the pilots now say, forced to fly into the most contested airspace on Earth without the 250-mile radar bubble that has protected them since the end of the Cold War. Iran didn't just hit random targets. They hit the specific aircraft that covered the corridors American strike packages use to reach Iranian territory. But why now? Why did Russia choose this specific moment to settle the debt? To understand that, we have to look away from the cockpits and toward the global oil markets and the political fractures in Washington. As Zelensky pointed out, the rising price of oil and the distraction of the conflict in Iran have emboldened Putin. He no longer feels the need to pretend he wants peace. By fueling the fire in the Middle East, Russia forces the United States into a resources trap. Every Patriot missile fired at a drone in the Gulf is one less missile available to defend Kyiv or Odessa. Every dollar spent on an emergency deployment to Saudi Arabia is a dollar that cannot be used to fund the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Russia is effectively using Iran as a force multiplier to drain the West's arsenal until the cupboard is bare. This brings us to a topic that the official briefings are desperate to avoid: the total disassembly of the American system of war. For decades, the United States has relied on integrated air power. This system has 3 pillars: air defense to protect the bases, tankers to provide the range, and E-3 Sentries to provide the vision. In the last 2 weeks, we have seen Iran systematically target all 3. First, they consumed the Patriot batteries with mass swarms. Then, they targeted the aerial refueling tankers. And finally, they blinded the E-3s. This is a predetermined order of operations. It reflects a high-level military logic that suggests the plan was written not in Tehran, but in the halls of the Russian General Staff. They are stripping away the architecture that makes individual American jets effective, leaving them to operate as isolated, vulnerable units. The silence from the East is equally deafening. While Russia is vocal about its technical assessments of American degradation, China remains silent, watching and documenting. Chinese military forums are already dissecting the E-3 vulnerability, learning how a mid-tier power like Iran can neutralize a superpower's air dominance on the cheap. This is the true global danger of the Zelensky revelation. The world is watching the American myth of invincibility being dismantled component by component. If the eyes are gone and the tankers are burning, and the air defenses are exhausted, the very foundation of Western power projection in the 21st century is at risk of collapse. But to truly understand the depth of this crisis, we have to look at what was supposed to come next. The United States Air Force knew the E-3 Sentry was aging. They called it rickety, a Cold War relic held together by duct tape and the sheer will of its maintenance crews. The replacement was supposed to be the E-7 Wedgetail, a modern, agile platform already proven by the Australians. But as of March 2026, the Wedgetail program is a ghost. Mired in budget cuts, production delays, and a recent attempt by the Pentagon to cancel the program entirely in favor of space-based sensors, the E-7 is years away from being operationally ready. The 4 aircraft burning on those runways weren't just planes. They were the only bridge the US had to a future of air dominance. This creates what military planners call a capability gap that cannot be filled by surging more assets. You can fly more F-35s into the theater, but without the E-3's radar to guide them, they are like world-class snipers trying to work in a thick fog. In fact, internal reports from the 380th Air Expeditionary Wing suggest that since the strikes, mission-capable rates for strike packages have plummeted by 40%. Pilots are refusing to fly certain corridors over the Strait of Hormuz because they can no longer see the Iranian S-300 and S-400 batteries lighting them up until a missile is already in the air. The system of systems that made the US invincible has been decapitated. And this is where the Zelensky revelation turns from a military tragedy into a geopolitical horror story. Zelensky's intelligence confirms that Russia didn't just give Iran drones, they gave them a targeting mirror. For 3 years, the US and NATO provided Ukraine with high-fidelity satellite data to strike Russian command centers. Today, Russia is doing the same for Iran. We are seeing the first symmetric intelligence war in human history. When an Iranian drone hits a specific hangar at Al-Udeid, it's because a Russian Kyiv satellite provided the window of opportunity when the roof was vulnerable. The Kremlin has decided that if American intelligence can be used to sink the Black Sea Fleet, then Russian intelligence can be used to burn the Fifth Fleet. But there is a twist in this narrative that no one saw coming: the Ukrainian mercenary of light. As the US scrambles to replace its billion-dollar radars, Middle Eastern powers like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the UAE are not looking to Washington for help. They are looking to Kyiv. President Zelensky recently confirmed that several Gulf nations have requested Ukrainian anti-drone task forces to deploy to their bases. Why? Because Ukraine is the only nation on Earth that has successfully fought a 3-year war against the exact systems Iran is now using. The irony is staggering. While Russia arms the attacker, the victim of Russian aggression is now the only one capable of defending America's allies. However, the clock is ticking against the Western industrial base. A single E-3 Sentry takes years to refurbish, and the E-7 Wedgetail won't arrive in significant numbers until the 2030s. Meanwhile, Iran is producing the repayment model drones at a rate of 400 per month. The math of this war is fundamentally broken. We are using $4 million Patriot interceptors to shoot down $20,000 drones. And now, we don't even have the radar planes to tell the Patriots where to look. We are witnessing the Vietnamization of the air war, a high-tech superpower being bled dry by a lower-tech adversary that has been given a high-tech brain by a vengeful Russia. As we move into the second half of March 2026, the question is no longer whether the US can win a dogfight over Iran. The question is whether the US can even afford to show up to the fight. With the loss of the E-3s, the brain is gone. With the depletion of the Patriots, the shield is cracked. And with Russia and China watching from the sidelines, documenting every failure of American integrated power, the stakes have never been higher. Zelensky warned us that this was coming. He told us that the drone debt would be settled in a way that would change the world. He was right. The only thing left to see is what happens when the lights go out completely.